This is Hayes Q Jones, your DVD and Blu-ray baller on a budget, and this is HQ Videos for you. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Please like, share, subscribe. If you're a current subscriber, how you doing? Come on in, make yourself at home. You know the routine. This week I'm bringing it back. Last week I did the top 10 70s horrors in my collection. This week I'm going to do 80s horror. And 80s horror is a little unique compared to 70s and everything coming after it. You kind of had this quirkiness of humor with horror, things like Child Plays, Gremlins, Critters, but that kind of like innocence and horror mixed in together. And it kind of kicked off, 70s really kicked off the series of horror pictures like Halloween and all the series that came after it. And you have a variety of those in the 80s, and I'll jump in that into a moment. So without further ado, sit back, relax, have a drink of a smoke, and I'll catch you on the other end of this video. Without further ado, I'm just going to jump right into it with number 10. This is Near Dark. This came out in 1987. It's an Anchor Bay release. It stars Adrian Pasdar, Jenny Wright, the famous Lance Henriksen, the late Bill Paxton, and Jeanette Goldstein. It's directed and written by Kathy Bigelow, produced by Eric Red, and cinematography by Adam Greenberg, and music by Tangerine Dream. Haven't heard that name in a while. And to me, this was like the kind of a version of the Lost Boys. A little bit more greedy, not a little more gritty, not as commercial, and it's straight away from the traditional vampire. I want to suck your blood. With the cape and all that. It's more of a urban cowboy type of feel to it, though. So my number 10 pick for 1980s horror, Near Dark. My number 9 pick just happens to be a digibook. This would be the 1982 MGM horror thriller Poltergeist, directed, which surprised me. I thought for some reason this was directed by Steven Spielberg. It was actually directed by the director of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Tobe Hooper. It was written by Steven Spielberg, produced by Kathleen Kennedy, cinematography by Matthew F. Leonetti, and music by Jerry Goldsmith. The stars Craig T. Nelson, JoBeth Williams, Beatrice Straight, Dominique Dunn, and Oliver Robbins. And if I remember correctly, JoBeth, I think that's the one who died. That's a little girl. I'm not positive. I think that's her name. But if you're not familiar with this iconic horror movie from the 80s, essentially this family encounters a poltergeist in their house, and all these strange things are happening. And for the 80s, this was probably one of the newer horror pictures that implemented a lot of pretty decent special effects for the time. And there's actually kind of a quote-unquote curse of poltergeist. I believe a lot of the cast actually died. Okay, JoBeth Williams, that must be JoBeth Williams. Craig T. Nelson, JoBeth Williams, Beatrice Straight, Tobe Hooper, a young Tobe Hooper, Steven Spielberg, Frank Marshall. What did he do? Marshall has been a driving force behind any of the biggest. Didn't know that. big Frank Marshall, Penny Marshall from Laverne and Shirley. I think that's her brother, or was her brother. You have the cast. You got the little creepy seance lady. The film facts. And you have the Blu-ray. So my number 9 pick for horror movies of the 80s, the iconic Poltergeist in digibook form. My number 8 pick is actually one of these. It is the Prince of Darkness. Prince of Darkness came out in 1987. This was directed and written by John Carpenter, produced by Andre Blay, cinematography by Gary P. Kibbe, and the music, oddly enough, John Carpenter. Starring Donald Pleasence. You might know him from the, I think it's Friday, is it Jason? The Halloween series. Jameson Parker, Victor Wong, Lisa Blount, and Dennis Dunn. And essentially you have a secret being kept in the basement of this abandoned Los Angeles church. It's going on for years. And with the death of a priest belonging to this mysterious type of sect, another priest opens the door to the basement, discovers this container containing a green liquid. And the priest contacts a group of physics graduate students to investigate it. And that's where the story begins. You know, I don't like giving spoilers away if you haven't seen this, even though it is a classic. I wanted to get I know Shout Factory had a version of it, but it was high as giraffe booty. I'm like, I'm not spending that much money for this. And I happened to find this set online, the 4-pack, Escape from New York, Prince of Darkness, They Live, and The Fog. The Fog didn't make my list, even though that's a movie from the 80s. The very sexy Adrienne Barbeau back in the day. But it's kind of like that M. Night Shyamalan movie about the wind. It's fog, so it can't be that scary, though. But Prince of Darkness, though, very cool, very creepy. Alice Cooper. The amazing thing about Alice Cooper, this came out in the 80s. I think this year or last year, Alice Cooper came to Florida to perform. Cat looks exactly the same. I think black don't crack, death don't die. So that must be his secret, though. My number 8 pick, John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. My number 7 pick, this is the 1987 action comedy fantasy horror Evil Dead 2. This was directed and written by Sam Raimi, produced by Bruce Campbell, cinematography by Peter Deming, music by Joseph LaDuca. This stars Bruce Campbell, Sarah Berry, Dan Hicks, Cassie Wesley DePalva, and Ted Raimi. And this is the second installment of Evil Dead. So if this is 7, you can anticipate you're going to see the first one higher up on the list. But this takes place where the first one leaves off with Ash Williams' girlfriend finding a log cabin in the woods with a voice recording of this ancient recording of himself reciting an ancient chants from the Book of the Dead. And this actually, the original Evil Dead spawned to Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness. I believe there's a show, a television show, which I haven't seen. And they had a reboot, another Evil Dead and another Evil Dead sequel. So I'm wondering if they're going to revamp the whole series again, though. But very quirky. Not as scary as the first one. It's a little bit more silly. It's Bruce Campbell, Sam Raimi. If you're familiar with them, they have this really wicked, almost Tim Burton type of humor. But it's entertaining. It's a little scary. Not as good as the first one, though, but I'll talk about that later. And this is number 7, Evil Dead 2. My number 6 pick, Nightmare on Elm Street. This came out in 1984, the fantasy horror thriller. This was directed and written by Wes Craven, produced by Robert Shea, cinematography by Jacques Haken, and music by Charles Bernstein. This stars John Saxon, Ronnie Blakely, Heather Langenkamp, Amanda Weiss, and I'm guessing this person's name is Jussa Garcia, JSU. That's how you spell the first name, Jussa Garcia. And this is another iconic classic. I was actually in the theaters in '84 when this came out, and it was just so new, so different. It was scary, but yet it had kind of a weird, raw sense of humor to it. And essentially, you're having Freddy enter your nightmares, and he can actually harm you in his nightmares. And just give you an idea, these are movies tickets from way back in the day. And if you look real close, Nightmare on Elm Street, November 22nd, 1984. That's when I saw it. And these are just some of the other tickets that I've seen back in the day. So, again, this is very near and dear to my heart. Nightmare on Elm Street, this was the best one out of the series. The next one, probably the Dream Warriors, in my opinion. And as they start getting down to like movie 6 and 7, of course, the quality starts veering off a little bit, but you can't take anything away from the original Nightmare on Elm Street. It was the perfect storm of Wes Craven, Robert Englund, and just the whole cast. You had Johnny Depp in there. So again, just another phenomenal movie, Nightmare on Elm Street. Can you believe this? A movie was $2.50. God damn, I'm old. Choo, 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 choo. Ha, 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 ha. Choo, 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 choo. Ha, 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 ha. Yes, at number 5. Number 5, another classic, Friday the 13th. This was directed by Sean S. Cunningham, written by Arch McCoy, produced by Sean S. Cunningham, cinematography by Barry Abrams, and music by Harry Manfredini. This stars Betsy Palmer, Adrienne King, J.D. Taylor, Robbie Morgan, Kevin Bacon, and I'm pretty sure it has before I speak, is it Jamie Lee Curtis? I'm not positive, but this would be the first of the Friday movies, and of course it spawned a bunch of other ones. And I know Shout Factory had another release. I don't want to buy the whole set because I have the whole set, but I did want to get the real 3D version of that. So, but this is the whole set plus the killer cut. And to be honest, I don't think I've seen like the last 4 or 5 of these. Jason versus Freddy. I haven't seen that one. Jason in space. So a lot of these I haven't seen yet. So maybe one Halloween when I have some extra time, I can go through the whole series. Yeah, Jamie Lee. It's odd that they didn't give her top billing. Theatrical release May 9th, 1980. And you got to think how gruesome. Probably the only thing close would be Texas Chainsaw Massacre, just a little bit more of it with Jason. So my number 5 pick, I have to keep looking to make sure I'm numbering these right. Number 5 pick, Friday the 13th. And I told you see this again at number 4, The Evil Dead. This was directed, produced, and written all by Sam Raimi. Cinematography by Tim Philo. Stars Bruce Campbell, Ellen Sandweiss, Hal Delrich, Betsy Baker, and Teresa Tilly. And this is the first one where a group of college students find this mysterious book and recording in this old cabin, and they play the recording and everything shit hits the fan after that. Classic. This didn't have the comedy that the second one did. a lot more creepy than the first one. And this is Anchor Bay. You have the Blu-ray and the DVD. But this is a lot creepier than the second one and the third one. The second and third one kind of got more into a comedic type of rhythm though, but this was the one that kicked it off. Evil Dead, and this is number 4. At number 3, we have the 1989 fantasy horror thriller. It's a Paramount picture, Pet Sematary. Directed by Mary Lambert, written by Stephen King, produced by Mitch O'Gallen, cinematography by Peter Stein, and music by Elliot Goldenthal. This stars Dale Midkiff, Fred Gwynn. You might know him from the Munsters. He was that Herman Munster. Denise Crosby, Brad Greenquist, and Michelle Lombard. And essentially you have this special plot of land where if you bury things there, they come back, but they don't always come back the same. Great storyline, great story. And I mentioned this before when I just watched the most recent installment of Pet Sematary. Forgot Bloodlines or whatever. This movie just creeped me out. I remember watching this in the theaters and going home, all I could hear was that grandmother. This is really kind of scratchy, eerie type of voice. So, but great movie. The second one, Pet Sematary, which I just watched a few weeks ago. I think Shout Factory re-released it on Blu-ray. Decent movie, but doesn't hold a candle to the first one though. If you've never seen this, do yourself a favor, watch the original Pet Sematary. This is number 3. My number 2 pick. This is RLJ. Forgive me if I miss some of the distributors on some of these. Get excited when I get into these though. But this is the 1987. I can't believe they had the audacity to say comedy horror. There was nothing funny about this. So this is Hellraiser. This was directed by Clive Barker, written and directed by Clive Barker, produced by Christopher Figg, cinematography by Robin Vigian, and music by Christopher Young. This stars Andrew Robinson, Claire Higgins, Ashley Lawrence, Sean Chapman, and Oliver Smith. And essentially you have this guy who finds this box. He is an explorer, and he likes to explore new dimensions of pain and pleasure. And he finds this, what looks like a Rubik's Cube, and it opens the world of the Cenobites. And this is where you have Pinhead. In my opinion, you have Jason, you have Freddy. What's I missing? Jason, Freddy, Jason, Freddy. I can't think of the other one. I just had him too. This is the most ominous villain in horror, Pinhead. Just the amount of torture that they do and the creativity in how they torture people is just out of this world. Love this movie. It spawned 5-6 different movies. Amazon Prime, either Amazon Prime or Hulu dropped the last one, which I think I've seen that. I think I've seen all of them. So I actually have one in 3D. So if you haven't seen this, do yourself a favor, watch the original Hellraiser. Michael Myers, that's what I was thinking of. Out of all the horror villains, Michael Myers, Jason, Freddy, Pinhead is the man in my opinion. If you disagree, leave a comment. My number 1 pick, a piece of cinematography majesty. Is just a beautiful film. The drama horror The Shining came out in 1980. Directed by Stanley Kubrick, written by Stephen King, produced by Robert Fryer, cinematography John Alcott, music Wendy Carlos, starring my man Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, the original Olive Oyl, the real Olive Oyl if you ever watched Popeye, Danny Lloyd, who played Danny Torrance, Scatman Crothers. If you ever watched old cartoons, Kung Fu, Hong Kong Phooey, he was the voice for Hong Kong Phooey, and Barry Nelson. And if you don't know the story about The Shining, do yourself a favor, watch it. But essentially, Jack Nicholson and his family go to this really remote resort in the wintertime just to take care of it, keep the heat on, keep things from freezing. And that gives him the opportunity to write his novel or his book. And some really weird and strange things start happening. And I got to mess with my boy Cal's Daily. There's a sequel to this, Dr. Sleep, I think. Excellent sequel, excellent movie, but it is not better than The Shining. From the cast of Jack Nicholson, just with his crazy personality, he owned the part. Shelley Duvall, you really believe she is just horrified all throughout the movie. You have the legendary Stanley Kubrick, you have a Stephen King story, the cinematography, the shots of the hotel, the blood, the twin girls, the room you're not supposed to go in. All this is like the perfect storm. In my opinion, this is the #1 80s horror film of the 80s, the #1 80s horror film. Now, that's my top 10. If you made this far in the video, smash the like. Give me the big thumbs up. If you have some other top 10 or you think some other horror pictures deserve to be in here, leave the comment. But other than that, may the best of your past be the worst of your future. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. Deuces.